Thanks all for being here. This is the All Black Everything Roundtable, which we have at Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, or whenever we finally get started. So yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. Super chat always appreciate. Stuff helps a lot. But yeah, we're going to introduce all these great individuals and get started. We'll start with my man Bam, back with us. Bam, missed you. Bam, thanks for being around.
Oh, am I muted? I'm not muted. I can say anything right now. And what's up, y'all? It's Bam. Y'all know who I am. And this conversation is about to be actually terrible. I'm literally risking losing a few days off of my life because of the conversation we're about to have. But you know what? Pain is love.
Okay,
That's it.
got it. Thank you so much. All right. Next is my main man Fanatic, back with us again. All right, to get highly upset at the rest of us. Fanatic, please go ahead.
I think I need I need better health care because I'm thinking about the fact that I know that I'm taking years off of my life by the anger that I get whenever I'm interacting with people adjacent to PrimeCayes and friends. It's not healthy for me. But I feel like I'm doing God's work. I'm helping them to see the error in their ways. I still have faith that we can actually convert um most of PrimeCayes friends towards actually a reasonable position. PrimeCayes is lost. There's no way you can save him, but his friends are still redeemable. And so that's why I come to these panels and I give my talking points and help people to understand, come to the knowledge of the truth. And if you're one of those people that needs the truth, you can always talk to me one-on-one, on or off stream, and I will help you understand where you're wrong.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, where do you want to find sinners to save? Right, you go to the devil's playground. Right, you come here.
Yes.
So he's
That's
doing
it.
God's work. It makes sense. Right? Yeah. Thank you so much. Next, my man GSU Gambit is here. Happy to have him. Right, we don't get you all the time, but when we do, it's high impact. Right. So GSU, thank you for coming through.
Yeah, much like Fanatic said, when Jesus was here, he came amongst the sinners. And that's what we are here to do, man. So we are here to save lost souls. So
Okay.
buckle up.
Oh boy. All right, Pace. Thanks as well for coming through. We're enjoying having you around. Pace, how are you doing today?
I'm doing quite well. You interrupted me when I was making my pasta today, but I was able to finish and I did pretty good for the first time. But I hate to piggyback off of Fnatic and Gambit, but this is the last time that we have to basically salvage the rest of the country that we have and save the black people that are worth saving. And the rest of you, I guess we can take, to use Hillary's words, take half of you and put you in a basket full of leftist lunatics and just toss you at sea, and the rest of us go on living in a utopia.
Okay. All right. Great. Sure. Let's mix in ethnic cleansing too. All right. Let's go to Ihol. Ihol, thank you.
I didn't
For
say cleansing. We're just going to toss you at sea, let you float out there for a little while
no. We'll
until
just
you
have a
learn
cultural
the error of your
revolution and get
ways.
rid of the people who don't think like I do. Let's go to
Yeah, but you guys don't
Ihol.
believe in work.
Let's go to Isle. Oh, Isle. I had to meet you. Isle, you gotta wear headphones. We keep getting noise from you, right? So an echo from you. So please wear headphones. But before you start looking for those, Isle, thanks for being here. Got anything to say?
I do. My name is Isle. I have lots of opinions. Opinions the PCNF community doesn't want to admit to themselves, but they deeply agree with me. Okay? I was the one who had the base takes, and they know it. They hate themselves because they know it, but they know it nonetheless. And I have opinions today too, so hopefully they can get a bit mad about that too. But you know what? My messages on Discord are always open if anyone wants to talk. So it is what it is.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna
And
go
you
look
think
for
you
my
got too
headphones
many
now.
brain cells? Reach out to Isle. All right. My man Smooth is here too. Smooth, thanks for coming back. Right. Especially since at the last time it was super contentious with us. It was
Oh,
super contentious.
this is not gonna be any lighter. I feel like this is gonna be one of those days where I will walk off stream afterward, and yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Hopefully there's no one around so I don't punch random people. But yeah, hi, I'm Smooth. And this is gonna be one of those talks, okay, that you're gonna talk about. Afterward, and you're gonna be like, man, what was wrong with those guys? Smooth was right, and I'm gonna be like, yeah, I was right.
All right. Well, Smooth, thank you so much for proving stereotypes correct. Moving on. Last but not least, we have our friend Taj bin John, who is here. Taj, much appreciated. Taj is a great addition here. And you're like always a lot of fun to have around. So thanks for stopping by.
Oh, thank you. I try. Yeah. Can't wait to get into it with everybody. I'm gonna see how we agree and disagree, and yeah, it's gonna be fun.
All right.
And he's gonna try to talk more today for sure. He said it already.
I need to talk more. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like I'm fucking up. I'm really bad at interjecting. I feel like a huge asshole whenever I interject. So that's probably it.
Well,
Yeah, but
usually
he's
you
gonna turn
interject.
that off and do better. He's going to. He said it already.
Usually
I believe it.
you interject, but it's just 30 seconds late because you're delayed. I don't
Yeah.
know what happened.
Oh
I don't
really?
know why. Yeah, I don't know why you think.
Oh
it's a delay.
fuck.
We'll be like on topic too. He'll be like, no, I'm like, wait, what's happening?
It's like he's getting audio
Fuck,
through like a
man,
Twitch
I hope
stream. I don't know.
That is
Hey,
true.
you
You
gotta get
happen
off
to
that
lag out
AOL,
a
bro.
lot.
You gotta
Get off that dial up.
Hey, so I gotta ask you guys
Bro,
something before
I pay. I have the good. Yeah.
there it gets again.
That was late right there. Even that response was late.
Bro.
Are y'all for real?
Let Prime go. It was the conversation. The room was over. We didn't already have both conversations. It's the first time.
I'm about to wrap AB
You
up
should
right now.
to him so he
Thank you for
understands.
joining, man.
So Taj, here, do me a favor real quick, okay? You ready? We're gonna do something. I'm just trying to test to see what the delay is, okay? Okay. On the count of 3, we're gonna count. I'm gonna count down, and then you say go. So I'm gonna say 3, 2, 1, and you say go. Okay, ready? 3, 2,
Okay.
1,
Yeah.
go.
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 Wait,
Okay,
how was
it's
that?
not so bad, but it's pretty
I
bad. But
said
it's
go
still not
twice. I
crazy.
said go twice.
Is it just his video? No, tell him to put up a finger.
Okay, we'll do it.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. We gotta get going. Yeah. Sorry.
No, his video and his
I'm using a smartphone
audio
as a
is not
camera.
synced. Your video and audio isn't synced, so the video's ahead
Yeah,
of
they're
the
not
audio.
synced.
So I don't know.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah. So audio is how you have to test that. Okay. So what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. Before we get started, right? About topic 2, right? So there's one discussion. Do you guys were in the chat. Do you guys want to do the Brittany Griner topic this week? We could save it till next week, or do you want to do the naked college student? I'm saving that one way or the other, right? So we're doing that. But do you want to do it this week or next week? So I guess raise your hand for Brittany Griner.
Griner.
1,
Can we-
2, 3.
Is it possible to
4.
split them?
No, it's no. They're gonna.
That's too
we're
much?
not- We're gonna be. It's gonna be a fight. Both
Okay.
of them. You don't want to shortchange them. Okay. All right. So
Okay,
looks like
well,
you
then
guys
I'm
wanted
going
to
with
do
the other
that.
one.
All right. So then we'll do Brittany Griner. We'll do the other thing next week. Okay. All right.
Yeah, hopefully she'll have her diploma revoked, and then we can include that next week.
Okay. All right. Well. Okay. So we'll change up topic 2. All right. Topic 1 then. Let's get to it. And for your opening statements, try to keep them short. We're already starting way late. Way late. Okay. So let's keep it short. Topic 1. Beyonce has recently released her latest album named Renaissance. However, almost immediately, the singer received backlash because one of her songs included the word spaz. Spaz is derivative of the word spastic, which members of the disability community find offensive. That term can be used derisively against people with uncontrollable muscle movement, like those who have cerebral palsy. Members of the Black community have pushed back by saying it means to go crazy, in African American Vernacular English (AAV). Beyonce ended up, or Ebonics if you want to call it that. Beyonce ended up removing the lyric. Do you think she should have? Does the fact that she meant no harm matter? And even if she meant to use it another way, since we are in a diverse society, shouldn't we make allowances for others so as to be polite? Yeah, so album dropped, and like a lot of things have happened to that album, like since it's dropped. It's been like a lot of drama around this album. But a big pushback online about this specific word. She removed the word, but a lot of people disagree with that decision and disagree with her being singled out for this. So I'm curious what your all opinions is. So remember, keep your statements relatively short. Let's go to Bam.
Yeah, the only reason she did this is because Lizzo had did it on her album before and received positive affirmation for it. The word spaz in the black community doesn't mean the same thing it means in the white community. We use spaz as a verb. Like we don't call individuals like, oh, you are a spaz. They say like, oh man, he spazzed. He went crazy. He did whatever. Now, generally I am in favor of, like, if someone tells you something is problematic, like, like, just out of respect, at least in the interpersonal, let it go. But the reality is everybody is looking for their nigga. They all want their one N word that they can, like, use a place to tell people not to say because they feel like it makes them feel relevant. And that's what this is that's what this is an example of. It's not I think that Beyonce made the right decision because it's not that deep, but no one was systemically offended in the same way that we use other words that we shouldn't say.
Much. Let's go to
Anybody that knows me knows how much of a freaking Beyonce stan I have always been. And I think she's like the sickest artist of our generation. It's obvious, like clearly she's the most influential artist of like our entire generation, to be honest. Probably the hottest thing since Michael Jackson. And so I feel like really people are just looking for excuses to go ahead and find ways to criticize her in some sort of way so that they can get like some short little minutes of fame for saying something. Furthermore, this whole spaz thing seems like a phrase that I coined called oppression appropriation, in which white people go out of their way to try to find ways to claim that they're being oppressed, and that's what they're doing here. Spaz is not oppressing anybody, and we're going to get into in the open. We're going to start talking about locutions and what the freak that means. Everybody, go ahead and take the time right now to look up locution, Locution. We'll get into that in the open.
Okay, all right. Let's go.
Yeah, so y'all know I thought this was stupid. I'm pretty upset. Like Fanatic said, that whole Beyonce in high regard, so I'm pretty upset that she crumbled to the bottom. I have a really, really close friend, right? This guy's in my top friends. He has like literal Tourette syndrome. And like we clown him every time we get a chance. And like it's just been the way it is, and it's been the way that most people that deal with stuff is, and like he's never had a problem with it. He put up a post as soon as he heard about this. He said, "Stop listening to these weak ass people." He was talking about PCNF. Then he said, "Know that everyone out here with the problem ain't trying to make it y'all problem. Have y'all tiptoeing around our feelings. I have literal Tourette syndrome. Have never felt compelled to cry about someone saying anything related. Honestly, it's hilarious. I love the South Park episode. He talked about other stuff too. And most of the people that I know that are in these situations, like I know him way closely, and I know other people, but that's pretty much how everybody feels. And this is just another like performative wokeness thing that's happening by the PCNF. That's how I feel
I
about
knew
it.
I was gonna say. I was waiting for you. Let's go to our friend Pace.
Firstly, I don't listen to any of this music. I consider most modern music to be garbage, so I have no desire to even go listen to the lyrics of it. However, I will say, I also held Beyonce in somewhat of a higher regard because I felt as though she was wealthy enough to not need to care about other people as opinions when it comes to her music. And as far as spaz, I have never in my life heard of spaz as a derogatory term used in any sense. If anything, people would call somebody spastic, but even then, it's so rare. But I will say this: I don't think Beyonce should have changed the lyrics at all, because if you give an inch to these leftist lunatics, they will take the entire country, which that's what they're trying to do, because we gave them an inch. decades ago, and they still haven't tried to take over everything. And it's just like everything else. The people who are actually affected, the ableist community, they aren't the ones that's calling for this word to be banned. It's people who don't even have disabilities that are calling for it. They love to speak on behalf of people that they are not.
So much. Isle. We can't hear you.
We can't hear you, bro.
Yeah, we can't hear you, buddy. I'm pretty sure you're not muted.
Hello? Can you hear
There
me
we
now?
go.
Yeah.
There we go. Yep. Mhm.
Hello?
Yeah, we
You
can
can
hear
hear
you.
me now?
Can you hear me? Us? Yes.
Oh,
Good.
yeah, I can hear you. All right, so like I was saying, I'm not a Beyonce fan per se, but you know, I've listened to some Beyonce songs and I liked it in my childhood. So, you know, like I feel it's a shame that she felt that she had to you know, censor herself because of the mob came after her, you know. I think this is kind of the same thing that's happening to comic books and video games these days. People who don't even care about it are just, you know, trying to nitpick on things that they don't even care about. They don't support with their money or their time. You know, I don't buy Beyonce albums, so even if I was offended, which I'm not, I just not listen to that song. But you know, these people just feel entitled to like, criticize and hate on people, and and it's sad and it's pathetic and it's weak, and it's a sad thing what happened.
Next we have Smooth.
All right. This is stupid. Okay. There's no other way around it. There's no other way to sugarcoat it. This is stupid. This is dumb. I don't know what's wrong with these people. I don't know why. Like, I hate Lizzo, first of all, for bending the knee the first time. Okay, she set a precedent that was bad. Then Beyonce was like, you know what? I'm gonna bend the knee too. And now you have these people feeling validated. You validated them. You gave them actual authority to make them feel like they actually have ground to stand on, which they don't. Which they don't, and they're not even a big amount of people. Like, I want people to start to go down these things and look and see who these people are. That's it. I just want you to find out who these people are and how many of them is there, because it's not a lot. Okay, most of them are probably bots.
Thanks so much. And finally, Todd. And we're getting some background noise from someone. I
And
think
we
that-
also can't hear you, Tosh.
Yeah, we can't hear
Yeah,
Todd.
Okay,
I hear some
unmuted.
noise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think Odin or sorry, Pace. That might be you. I'm not sure. Your thing is
I
lit
think
up.
it might
Oh.
be me.
you can't hear me?
No, we can hear you now. With Pace. Sorry, John. We can hear you. So go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we
Okay.
can hear you.
Excellent. Yeah. So I can see both sides of this, right? I can see the people that say that the word spaz is offensive and perpetuating the marginalization of people that are possibly part of the disabled community. I understand that. At the same time, I can see them use the same logic and the same rhetoric and the same like path to victory. I don't know if that's the right term. I want to frame it as like a conflict to words like idiot or stupid. I think I said the word stupid one time in like a really left-leaning group chat, and someone called me ableist for saying stupid. Like, I don't like that mentality where words like these, were stupid or spaz, or just like these words that aren't necessarily like super ableist. It has to cross a certain threshold for me to give a damn about it. I don't think that's there for the word spaz. I really don't. I see the argument. I just don't think that argument like really matches all the way toe to toe. It's completely congruent. And yeah, that's my take.
So
Well-
it seems like everyone agrees, but like,
No.
okay. So
The battle against Bam.
No, I actually wanted to address first.
You guys
sorry,
go first.
my bad.
You guys go first.
Yeah, I wanted to first address Smooth. I think you made a really bad argument saying there's not enough of them to care. Like, whatever threshold you put there, you'll be able to raise it to eventually it reaches black people, because we're a minority in this country. So I don't think that's a very useful argument describing there's not enough people that care about it. I think that I think that while I agree with a lot of people, I agree with the sentiment of like, I said so in my initial statement. I believe that it's generally dumb. I don't think this is the issue is like, oh no, woke knobs not letting us say anything. I don't think that's the problem with it. Like even if we find a flaw, that we have to be rooted in the correct thing. Someone can say that like, oh okay, this word does have this type of history. There is a background that leads people to, that leaves people hurt. I just don't think this word fits that criteria. I don't think there's a strong history and background of the word spaz, especially in the way that the black community has used it, in the way it's defined in the black community, even though it sounds the same.
So you agree with everything that we said? Okay.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
there's a big difference. But you went to like, oh, it's woke mob. You shouldn't bend the knee. Like,
That's
don't
what
do
it
what people
is.
say.
Yeah,
The
that's
fact that
exactly.
there's no evidence and
No.
they're bringing it up is because it's the woke mob. Yes, everything that you said is exactly what we're saying.
But you're saying that's like an
If we were
inherent
talking
thing.
about a slur that had a history of some degradation and was used over time against a group of people, we would not have the take that we have today. We have the take that we have today specifically because this word doesn't seem to have the oppression of other terms that we would want outlawed. So you're saying everything that we said. You
Alright,
just using more words.
Could it be that as people who are generally abled, I don't know all your medical history, but I think most of us are generally will be considered to be abled, right? That we aren't exposed to the way this is used. So like I have seen people use this derisively, right? I've seen it happen. It's very rare that I've seen it, right? But again, I'm not part of the disabled
Unicorn
community.
rare.
So I've seen that, and I don't think the people say like, well, in the black community, this means to go crazy, but like it seems like the root of this is like the whole spastic thing, right? Like your body is like freaking out, right? And so
Yeah.
we're saying like you are going crazy. I don't think there's like this massive separation between the terms that people seem
There's not.
pretend that they are. Yeah. Okay.
You don't.
So
You say that?
That's when they saying they spazzing out. They saying like I lost control and I was just going ham. Like
yeah,
yeah,
pretty
that's
much
what they're saying.
Yeah, I would say, listen, my first time ever encountering the word spaz, and this is kind of crazy, my memory's ridiculous. There was a movie called Three Niggas Kick Back. Do y'all remember that series, Three Niggas? It was like a kids, it was a kids thing.
Ninjas.
And they were
Oh,
all
got
doing
it.
Three
karate.
I've got
ninjas.
you.
And
Yeah, I
oh,
got
that's
you.
yeah, you know what I meant. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes,
It took me a second.
three ninjas. That was it. Yeah, but if you remember that series, like on Three Niggas Kick Back Part 2, is where they where they went to Japan and they were like dealing with that one Japanese person and they were studying whatever. And in there, the guy, like, they called him a spaz. They called Colt a spaz, and so then the girl Mio thought his name was Spaz, and she was like, "Oh, nice job, Spaz." And it was like, "No, my name is not Spaz, whatever." So that was my first time ever hearing the word, and like ever hearing it as an insult. And I don't think I've ever heard it in my entire life since then. And that was a very Caucasian movie. So I can say that there's like, again, if you guys look at what the word locution is, it's like the idea. I'm sorry, not the idea. It is the fact that we have different regional words and different regional dialects and different regional ways of pronouncing words that don't apply. I mean, that vary depending on culture. We're aware of this all the time. So, like in the same way, nigga is a locution, right? We know that when black people say it, it has an entirely different meaning than when white people say it or any other people say it. Another common locution is something like sugar, right? And when someone in the South says sugar, it has an entirely different meaning than when someone like some other person like from like California says it or something, right? Or bless your heart, that could be another locution. So it sounds insane to me when we get to the point where we start allowing white people to police our language from their white gaze and then expect us to capitulate to their understanding of something when something that is largely intended for our own culture. And it seems completely dismissive of our culture. It seems like black erasure when you start trying to force our language to be under your gaze's perspective. Is that not fair?
Yeah, I think the issue is that
Yes,
it's being used as a noun and a verb. My bad.
Oh no. You're fine. I was just gonna say a side note. My friend Esprella Sensei in chat said that was part 3. Knuckle Up was part 2.
Nope, I'm 100% right. It's Three Ninjas Kick Back, and then Three Ninjas Knuckle Up. Knuckle Up had entirely different actors. It was not the same thing, and that movie sucked. Bars.
Okay.
Yeah, I had this on the
Yeah, it was
VCR.
definitely. I'm right.
You know,
My memory's ridiculous. Trust me. And I watched that movie like 50 times. I can quote it dang near.
Okay.
But
I have one point of contention with what Fanatic said, and my point of contention is I don't think this has anything to do with race and trying to remove the culture in these words. I think it has everything to do with, to use your phrase, PCNF's community trying to blacklist everything. They're trying that the people on the left have tried to make every single reason they can to find victimhood where it's not, because to be a victim is to get some type of governmental assistance, some type of aid. So everything that they say is oppression. If you look at somebody the wrong way, it's oppression. And in California, they changed the law to where you cannot call somebody he or she in court when you're swearing them in. You have to refer to them as they, because it's oppressive to trans people who
I don't know
have
how we
been
got here.
telling us that we can't
That
you
was a
know
quick pivot.
that we can't
I see how we got here.
call
Man,
them
we were
differently
dark.
No
differently
matter
from their
what, we can always end up at trans
word.
people. No, it doesn't
But
matter
the
what the fuck we're talking
the,
about.
the problem is these leftist people, they will stop at nothing until nothing is okay. They did the same thing. What was it, a couple years ago with the word boss in reference to women. If you call a woman a bossy lady, now you're offending all women because to call them a bossy woman is offensive to women. I don't know
When did this
how.
happen? When did
This happened just a few years ago, and they literally had it all over the internet talking
You're
about
gonna
trying
have
to
to give me
ban the
proof. If
word
it's all over the
bossy.
internet, give me proof. Send me proof of that shit, please.
I'm
sure you can
surprised
find
you
proof.
don't know.
I believe
surprised
you can
don't know
find an
about it.
article.
Right.
Talking
Your
about
people did it. What do you mean? How are you not aware of this? Your friends were the ones that were like
Yeah,
you main
exactly. That's
influencers.
what I'm thinking. I'm
Calling a
surprised you don't
person
know
a
about it.
boss
It
is
was
a
your
bad thing.
community.
He's just fucking with you, all right? Just shut up with that.
No,
I've never heard of it.
I'm sure you can find one article of anything. Like that's why I
I'm
did.
saying
I'm not
it in
pushing
the
back against that.
Tennessean. I'm saying
Okay.
it a few things.
But yeah, so look, here's the deal. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that she actually capitulated. I think the other thing is, like they are always trying to look for, again, first off, I don't feel like anybody addressed the idea about the locution thing. Does anyone disagree with the idea that like a word like spaz is obviously
I'm
locution, right?
Oh yeah, I
I'm
was gonna
trying
use
to
like the F
find
slur for
the
cigarettes
word. Can you
in
spell
the
that
UK.
again one more time?
LOCUTION.
LOLO.
So
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
and
because
then
the word
you had a
sounds
great
the
one,
same.
Bam. What were you saying? Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was saying like the F slur in the UK. Like there like just because a word has the same sound, like has the same sound coming out your mouth, doesn't mean they mean the two things. Like I said, black people. I always like what I say is with this word, black people have never used it as a noun. There's never been or adjective. It's never been a descriptor of a person. It's a verb. Yeah, it's an action. Yeah.
so
I've never heard.
which
I've
is a
never
very
heard
good.
anybody. I've
Well,
never heard anybody use it as a noun. I don't know how recent this is that people start using it to refer to disabled people, but I've never encountered it, and
I think that's a UK thing.
I've never seen the movie that Fanatic is talking about. I don't
Watch Three Niggas Kick. Oh, don't go back. Don't go watch it.
I don't watch a whole bunch of movies, but
it was a
I've
fun
You don't
movie.
do
never
anything
I've
except
never
eat
heard of
Raisin Bran.
this phenomenon. This is awkward to me
So
that this is
okay,
even
sure. I
a
know
thing.
you've never heard of it, but like, okay, well, then, but I'm not sure if we would accept this in all cases, right? You
No,
can
not all cases.
imagine, right? That the word coons, CONS, right? Could
I
be
was gonna bring
used-
that up. You're stealing my point before I got there. Go ahead, Prime.
could be used in some form, like in some regional manner, that is unique to that part of the country. Let's say the Northwest or something, right? You could imagine that there's a group of people who say, "Oh, we've already used that, right?" Or we just mean it to. Sorry. Oh, what's the back? Sorry, we got background noise again. So, like,
Is that me again?
I
Yes.
don't know. No.
Yeah, it's me when you're not talking.
But okay. But anyway, yeah. So you can imagine that. So if that was the case, right? And someone
That does
started
happen.
just saying that, would it be unfair for people to ask them, okay, well, this is an offensive thing. Maybe you should rethink.
Yes.
It would be unfair.
Absolutely. Prime, I just had that conversation with Racist Destiny yesterday, and that was exactly my point that I brought up. Is that simply like coon is definitely not a slur when it's on when black people use it in the same sense. It's not a race essentialist slur, right? When we say
What's
the
a
word
slur?
coon,
It's not
yeah,
racial.
sure, but it's not a race essentialist one. And I think that's where the problem comes. When we're saying the word coon, we're talking about individuals who follow a specific action. Same thing with Karen. Karen is not a race essentialist slur, right? So because it's not saying that every person who falls under whatever under this categorization is that thing. It's saying people who do these actions. That's the difference. Whereas when white people use the word coon, it was a race essentialist. It was all black people are coon. And in the same sense, I think it's ridiculous to try to ban a person to police language unless they're using it as an insult in some sort of race essentialist way. That happened, if you remember, when those one people were using it against Irrelevant, and like they were sitting there saying like, hey, like they called him that, and then he was like, yeah, this race, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, like they weren't. It's not an essentialist thing because they wouldn't call me a coon. They only called him that. So that's another locution. Obviously, when white people say it, they have an entirely different definition than when we say it. So why are we sitting here saying, oh, the way you interpret the word is the only valid way? How do we not recognize that that is also oppressive? It's also policing of black language. It's also like removing some of our own agency for our own vernacular, for some of our own dialect. Why would that make sense?
I also think you have a stronger argument for like historical discrimination. Like we can point to history related to that word. Why like it shouldn't necessarily be out group.
What coon?
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean? What history? What are you referring to?
I'm saying that like I think you can validly prove like that word's been used historically to discriminate, like to cause harm, and I think you have a strong argument for that, which is one of my requirements.
Sure, you can argue that, but then you can also simultaneously say that when black people use it, we never used it in a way that was race essentialist, right? Like historically, ever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had actually thought about that. Like, technically, it is racial essentialist. Like, I wouldn't use that word for Alex Jones. Like, you have to be a member of the in group, like conflicting the out group. Like,
I get where we're mixing it up. So let me explain to you what race essentialism is. When you're saying something is race essentialist, it means it is an essential, necessary, fundamental part of the race. In order to say something is essentially it, right? Not just that it's an association, that it's essential. To say something is race essential means that all people of this race have this thing. It's part of the essence of what is that race. So that when you say the word coon is race, I mean, when you say coon is race essentialist, but you're saying it's only certain people within this race who have this action, then it's not essentialist. Do you get the difference?
Well, I'm using it equivalent to the.
Please answer the question.
What it's not that it's more complicated because I'm using another example to explain like if you feel like it still fits. Like
can you answer the question first though?
And I'm saying I disagree with you, and I'm moving to the next point. For why I'm saying that like the whole Gusano meme, like it's not racial essentialist, but there's a very specific race that you target. When
Absolutely, and that's what I just explained to you the difference of, like, right, like where something can be.
I get that not every member of the race fall into this category.
So then, by definition, it's not essentialist, right? If every member of the race doesn't follow, and then there has to be some. I'm sorry. So again, for everyone else that's listening, because I can tell right now you're putting up the wall and not actually paying attention.
I am.
When you say you're not, because when you say something is race essentialist, right? When something falls into the category of essentialism, then that means it is literally, undeniably, irrevocably part of that race. So then if someone can do something that removes that essence while still maintaining that thing, then it is no longer something that is essential. It is no longer like so when we say something like, for example, gusano, that word, unless you're saying every Cuban person is that, then it's not an essentialism slur, right? It's saying this is something that the actions of an individual.
But you still qualify as a racial slur.
You can say sure if you want to, but it's not race essentialist. That's why I keep using the word essentialism.
I know,
you
it's
seem
just a
not
weird
want to interact with. It's not a weird definition. It's not weird. It's just literally what the word means for anybody who has a vocabulary. It's essentialism. Look up the word essentialism so you can understand what I'm talking about. Because yes, you can just say that the word is racist, right? Because you can say, well, and I would actually disagree with the fact that it's racist. But in any case, you can say yes, it is a racial slur, and the fact that it only applies to a given race, but it's still not race essentialism. And essentialism is a key part because when we start looking at like things like the N-word, it wasn't like any insult you could probably try to argue like, hey, this is a bad thing. But when you start trying to get into the reason why the N-word was so particularly bad is because it was essentialism. It was basically saying every black person is this. So you erased all of the distinctions that make a person anything, and you say that. When you call someone stupid, you're not saying all human beings are stupid. You're saying you're stupid, right? When you say if you make a statement about like a particular woman, right? Like, so maybe you were talking about butch gay people or something, right? Like, you're not saying all women. This applies to all women. You're saying it applies to these specific things. So you can say things that are only applied to a given person, but not saying essentially all of those things are. And so in that case, while race is more of a race is more of a distinguishing factor from other races, but it's not essentializing the race, and that's why it's different.
I just don't know anyone else who could make the which I don't think Chris Rock should have, but like could have made the joke of like there's a difference between black people and niggas. Like if Louis C.K. made that joke, I think that would fall under like, oh, okay, like, oh, he's differentiating. How
does that interact with what I just said at all?
No,
how does that interact with anything I just said? Does it?
Because you said that the N-word was race essentialist. And I'm saying that, like, if someone
like the hard R is obviously race essentialist, yes.
But I'm saying that if someone made that, like, no, not all, just some of them. Like, does that make, like, would you just like, oh, no. Okay, I understand what they're saying now?
Well, if they were talking about if we're talking about two different words. So when we use the word, when a black person uses the word, obviously, nigga, it's also a locution. So then there's going to be a total different understanding of how that word is used depending on that person. But hard R is always essentialist, and so no person, if you notice, white
again,
people
but that's what I'm asking.
Again,
wait, stop right there. That's what we're missing. You're saying it's always essentialist. I'm saying what
hard R? Yes.
Like where's that assumption come from?
From the historical usage of the word.
I feel like this would apply to literally any other racial slur.
No, that's not true. But does it apply to coon?
Yes, I would say this. I would say someone. I would say a white person calling black people coons. I would say that this is a racist.
Bro, okay, let me just ask this one last question, just to make sure that we can. This shuts his whole like dissonance down, and then everyone can just move on. When a black person calls a person a coon, are they referring to literally all black people or that individual?
They're talking to a type of black person, yes.
Are they okay? When they call a person a coon, are they referring to all black people or that individual?
That individual.
Okay, there you go. So we're done.
That doesn't negate anything else, though.
Everyone else can see it does, but you're just not engaging. We're done.
It doesn't change literally anything.
I believe you believe that, buddy. Good luck.
So does every slur have to be essentialist, or is this just like a DLC of slurs? Like,
right, like his definition was just weird. It just didn't mean anything.
Tash, I'm sorry. What were you asking? You're actually engaging.
Does it have? All right. Does essentialism have to make it a slur, or can it be like a DLC of slur? Like, if a woman says certain things in a certain way, like, can she unlock that Karen slur versus calling all women Karens, or say like for Guzano or however that's pronounced?
I don't even think that's comparable, because Karen is so recent. It doesn't have any historical relevance. It doesn't really mean anything in the first place. People just
associate it with white women generally.
Okay, Taj, let me try real quick. Look.
No,
so yes, it's not that it's a DLC.
I'm asking if it's important.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was asking about the
he was responding to what Pace said about 30 minutes ago.
Oh, shut up. Okay. So basically, Taj, imagine if I said you're something negative, right? If I said you are something negative, I would be applying it to you, right? But if I said something like all whatever your last name is in real life are this thing, now it's no longer applying to you. I'm saying it's just a factor of your entire family, right? So now at this point, it's essential. It's essential to the last name. Whereas if I'm insulting you as an individual, it's not talking about everyone that's tangentially related to you. I'm talking about just you. So sometimes you can specify something for an individual, or sometimes you can be saying something that is trying to specify. I mean, that's more general and broadly and saying apply to everyone, right? So like, for example, I can say, like, if someone insulted me and said, yo, you're a loser or something, right? Like, if they did that, it would be ridiculous if we immediately said, so he's calling all black people losers, right? Because he's not talking about everyone. He's talking about specifically me. So if we start trying to use words directed at individuals and try to broadly apply them to an entire group of people, that becomes essentializing that group of people. And that's the difference between these types of slurs. Does that make sense?
I guess. I see what you're saying. But
how would you categorize bitches?
Like, when I say
that would be something that was broadly applied.
Is it? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
Sure?
Okay, yeah. So that's a word that has both usage, right? Like, so some female. I mean, so you can call a person like you are a B, right? Like, because we use that even when we're directed at men, right? But then you can also say like broadly B's in like context, and the context can obviously imply that you're talking about all women. So it varies depending on the usage and the context. And I would say the same thing about like coons, depending on the usage and the context. When the context in this case is the individual using it, which makes it a locution, that would actually determine whether or not this thing is an insult or not. I mean, whether it's an essential insult or not. It's always going to be an insult. We've never used coon as a positive thing.
Yeah, so this is why I'm saying that this is why I'm saying it's like the DLC of slurs, right? Because you have to be this particular race to unlock that particular insult. Like if you're not within like X category, X demographic, then it's gonna be like inappropriate to call you that. Like I'm not gonna like look at like Alex Jones and call him a coon ever.
You see, the problem.
Yeah,
the
but
problem
I'm
is
saying
You don't have to be a race to be discriminated minority.
to be a
this is irrelevant.
They are
like you
just
can say
finding
people,
any
you can say it's
method.
about.
Let John hold on. Let John finish, and then we'll go to you, Pate.
Yeah, so DeAndre, like, you don't have to be a race to be a marginalized person, right? You can be like disabled, you can be like queer of some sort, you can be Muslim or something. You can even be fucking old, and that can make you like a marginalized person in some way. So what I'm saying is like you're not gonna look at Alex Jones or Richard Spencer and call them a coon ever. But if they were black, then like that nigga's a coon. You can say that about them if Richard Spencer was like Raekwon Spencer, you know. So I don't know. Do you understand what I'm saying with the DLC part? It's like you have to be
sure.
I guess
you're saying that we leveled up and we grew and we got more intelligent, and we recognize that these things aren't, again, like not all insults have to be essential. And so we're actually educating ourselves and learning and growing and recognizing that we're being more specific sometimes with our speech. Like that's fine. So sure, if you want to call that DLC, sure. But like, let's not act like you don't know that when a black person is saying the word coon, they're not labeling all black people. And you do know like that when white people use the word coon, they were essentializing all black people. So like you have experience with this. You know that that's the way these words have been used before. So why are we acting like this is some kind of crazy, complicated, difficult thing? As if you don't understand that.
I guess for me, the problem.
I get that part.
I think
it's also
where y'all lost that. That's what I want to know.
I'm just like.
So
we all agreed until Black American Made wanted to be a white knight for the PCNF community. That's always we were all in harmony until Black American made it.
We did.
I just added necessary nuance.
There was no added nuance. Nobody here heard it besides you. You're the only person with that position.
Necessary? What was necessary about that?
Because I'm isn't standing up for you, Bam. That should be a thing.
You're the only person. I wonder, man, be 100% real right now, because I promise you, the content is good, even if we all agree. We don't need unnecessary debate just for the sake of debate. It wasn't
unnecessary. I think it was super
okay, I got you. So then they're good. So then answer this question. Like, do you genuinely not understand what I'm saying?
I feel like you're missing me. Again, I hear what you're saying. Wait, what are you talking about? Actually, let's stop. Pause. Are you talking about the conversation we just had? Hold on. Are we talking about the conversation we just had? Because this is like
the back and forth that we both had. Yes.
Yeah. I think that, like I said, me and Taj, the distinction we were making was the way you were using essential was, I think was debatable at best.
Oh, don't ever question my vocabulary, bro. You know I'm the most eloquent nigga on this panel. Come on.
But
I'm using this specific word that applies.
But this entire conversation is literally about how context matters to things. I get so how are we saying that?
Damn. So listen, bro. When you watch Django, right, and you look at Samuel L. Jackson's character, and everybody goes, "Man, that's a coon right there." Is they talking
they
about?
They wouldn't have said that if he wasn't black.
No.
But that's what I'm saying. I agree that they weren't talking about all black people, but I'm saying why is that? That's a weird way to define that word. It's like it.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. So here, look. Let's look at the word essential. Okay.
Again, we're not talking.
I got you. No, you did. You just said the way that I used the word essential was kind of weird. And maybe if you're acting like that's why you're not understanding it, I'm gonna go ahead and read the definition.
Okay,
of essential.
I'm gonna read the definition.
I got you. And then you can read whatever definition you need to.
Read the definition.
So the word essential. So the word essential means something necessary, indispensable, or unavoidable. So when
It
I'm
was
talking
necessary.
about so when I'm talking about something being essentialism, right, it means it's something that's unavoidable, right? Something inextricable. So then, like, if something is essentially part of something, that means no matter what, if you have A, then B, right? Let's use a basic syllogism. When you have something that says if A, then B, then that means that is essentially part of that thing, right? Because it cannot be devoided. It cannot be extricated, right? It's just these two things are together, right? So then when you say something like coon and you're saying that it is an essential
Is the
part,
race of that person essential to that
when you
slur?
say right, so yes, the race is an essential
Is
part.
essential.
Right. Yes, the race is an essential part of coon, but you're not saying that all people of that thing are that. It's like rectangles are a square. Right? All rectangles are square, but not all squares are rectangles. Do you understand that analogy? So you
Again,
can
I
say,
haven't missed what you're saying. You've
good. So then
always
if you
done
got
that.
it, then you understand that while yes, like there is when you have four-sided objects, that is an essential part of being a square. I mean, of being a square,
Right.
but it's not an essential part of being a rectangle. It's a higher tier, right? So in the same sense, when you're saying coon, right, race is an essential, like the black race is an essential part of that, but not all of the races. I mean, not all black people apply, right?
Correct, but I'm saying contextually that word essential, would you use twice in the description you were making fit in both situations? So when you say
it's
so
like-
when you
you're
say
missing the analogy.
I would
Okay,
really
I'm
like
not.
to
I'm
move
not.
past this.
I give up. Hey,
Yeah, we
you
can
got it.
definitely move past
You won. I give up. You got it. I'm sorry. Go
I'd
ahead.
really like to move past this point. I mean, like
Yeah.
you've been
Yeah,
interrupting
100%.
us.
No, yeah, there's no reason to go backwards.
Okay, all right. So
You know, but
I
I said it backwards. Someone said I said all. No, I don't think I did. Someone
So-
Yeah.
hold on.
You,
I-
Oh,
you
maybe I
said
did.
that, but it's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we got the point.
Okay, all right. So back to the heart of the subject, and we were talking about spaz, and so I was trying to make the point that maybe we should have allowances, that if within our society that we have, you know, a group, right, that a marginalized group, and the disabled people are a marginalized group, that is saying that, you know, this thing is offensive, that especially since it's not as if it costs it generally doesn't cost people anything to change their verbiage,
It
right?
does. It does cost
for
people.
specifically for Beyonce, it actually did. I'm sure it did cost her money to change that word. But yeah, like so I'll go to you next, Gambit then. So if like if this is a group that does legitimately find this offensive, and I believe them, I don't have any reason to believe they're lying, right? I don't think anyone is saying here these people are lying. You may not have heard it, but I think it's a different thing to say that they're necessarily lying about like what they believe this means, right, to them and their experiences. So if that's the case, then why not just not use it? I know most of you don't use it in the fucking first place, so it's like not a big deal to even let this go, right?
Correct. It's not a hill to die
So
on.
yeah. So
Yeah.
my thing is the most important part of what you said was if the disabled community felt this way. But we're actually talking about the white leftists that are saying that this thing is offensive, not the actual people that they're saying would be offended. So I think in most of our experiences, the word spaz, it's like not maybe used more recently, but in the past it was used a lot. And there's never I can't think of a single situation where it was brought up as like
You're not
problematic.
disabled though, right?
You didn't do your research, Gambit. The
Yeah.
person who started this was a disabled person, the same person who challenged Lizzo. Like this is started by
He's
a
not
person
listening
who's a
again.
member of a organization that was like by a disabled person's organization.
Yeah, they
He was saying historically that it wasn't a thing.
No, he said that the people who are asking for this to be changed weren't
I'm saying
disabled people.
I'm saying historically and now. Now what I will say is maybe there are some outliers and there's like a few people that the white left is trying to put a face on this. That's possible. But I think the overwhelming
As
majority
per usual.
don't care at all.
But you know, see the
The
problem
people
that
who
I
asked for
have
this were them.
with what you said is that there should be allowances. That, and you said there's no cost. The cost that we're paying for it is you're just going to force everybody else to bow down to the will of the leftist dictators and tell us all what we can and
Dictators.
cannot say at all times. Whenever they find something that they don't like, they're going to come back down and tell us, oh, this is wrong. You can't say this. You know, I get banned on Facebook all the time for calling leftists stupid because they say that's bullying. But you guys can say it to us all day long and never face any repercussions for it.
Was your mother a dictator when she like told you like the like what words were polite and what words were impolite? Was that her being a dictator by like not letting you be as free as you wanted to be
My
and saying
mother,
anything that you
And
my
wanted?
these are
mother,
things that she said were widely accepted in society.
when you
And
when
they
you
weren't
are a
like fringe
child,
positions.
when you
Prime,
are a
you can
child,
argue.
when you are a child living under your parents' home, you are technically considered property of your parents. So they can make any rule whatever that they want to. But when you get out of their
Wait,
household,
Weird
that's
give
take.
the leftist space, dude. They're gonna say that. No, they can't.
I mean,
Okay.
I guess that's the problem with leftists is that you think that your parents have no agency over your over your lives when you
They
are under
should,
their roof,
right, Prime?
under their homes. And then the problem with leftists is your parents followed that same stuff and they raised a bunch of spoiled, rotten brats that have no accountability and responsibility for their actions, and they think that everybody else, because they got a participation trophy because their mother was too afraid to tell them that they were fucking stupid, they think that everybody else should just bow down to them and they should have an opinion on everybody else's lives and everybody else has to be just like them because they got told they were good enough when they weren't.
Sure. Prime,
my
you
thing
believe in
is-
Even worse
sacrifice.
than that,
What
my
sacrifice is
thing
that
is
when?
like even worse
Oh,
than
go
what
ahead.
Pace was saying was that not only do they like not have any like authority in their own homes, but they want like the leftists want to make the government our parents. That's why you have like the term the nanny state, because they want to use the power, the leverage of government to control everybody by saying this is okay, this is not okay, this is like offensive. Like in the UK, like people get like arrested for jokes and whatnot
You know,
and
I
things of that
agree
nature.
with
So
that.
like
You know what?
I agree with
I'm
that, but I've changed. I said I've went a little bit further than that. I don't think they want the government to be our parents. I think they want the government to take all of our responsibility and accountability,
I'm-
so that the government is responsible for the actions that we do, and so that way, if they go out there, get high on meth, and then go kill somebody, they can never take the
Um,
brunt of that because
Look at the
the
mountain
no,
they
government is
just
sorry.
built in
Look,
here.
responsible
this is
for
a
their
distraction,
actions.
right?
Outside.
Because this
whoa,
is a
whoa, whoa.
complete fucking distraction. I like talk about the government and nanny state. Like, look, we're talking about individuals, private individuals, and whether they should or should not make allowances for others, right? Just to understanding that we live in a diverse society. With people of other cultural backgrounds and different experiences than we do, and that
I
maybe
love that.
it might be kind of them
But
of
that's
us to make an allowance, right? Like,
But Prime, no, because you're not
um,
asking. You're not asking. So,
I,
in response to what you said earlier, you're not
okay,
asking for like the allowance or recognition of other cultures. Because if you were doing so, then you would recognize that there's another culture that uses this word in a non-offensive way, and you'd be more tolerant of that other culture, and instead of trying to police the culture and forcing them to look under the gaze of your own vision,
I'm talking
right?
about
They
hurt
didn't
though.
force
No,
though.
no,
They
no, no,
made
no,
they
no, no.
asked.
Fanatic. And then smooth. I see you, so we're gonna go you next. After this. But Fanatic, you know, it it has to be like if and what we're talking about, it has to be in like where the harm is, right? Like, so the harm is not within our community, right? The black community, which again barely uses this term, right? Like you
No, but
barely
we
hear this
do.
even within the black community. But even then,
No,
right?
we do.
Okay,
We do.
even
That's not.
okay,
It's
even if
not
people
rare.
do, but still, okay, fine. You know what? I'll say we use it all the time in every single conversation. Then no, well, I'll go the exact opposite. We use it in every single conversation.
Okay.
However, right, if there's this other community that says like, hey man, this is actually quite hurtful to us for these particular reasons, right? Like I think it could be a polite thing for us living in society, wanting to get along, wanting to have better
Yeah, that's
relations
what I was
with
going to
other people.
respond to next. Because you
Okay.
interrupted me, but yeah, sure. Like, yes, you can say that it's a polite thing to do, and if a person chooses to do that, they can. But what you're also doing in that scenario, when you almost demand them to, or you like threaten them for not doing, then I think at that point now you're forcing them to capitulate in the situation, and you force them to erase some of the connection of their own culture. Right, like one of the things that's amazing about Beyonce is like her cultural relevance. Right, when she start, like for example, she's using every opportunity she gets to be very, very cultural. So, for instance, when she does like her Super Bowl performances and she's wearing like black nationalist, I'm sorry, she's using freaking Black Panther garb.
Yeah, Black Panther.
Right? When she does that, like when she does an album dedicated to Africa to connect with her roots or to share some of her roots with the rest of with other Black people, right? When she puts specific dance styles that were very, very disgusting in Lemonade, like in her Formation video, that's like relevant to where she came from New Orleans. All of these things she's doing are about cultural or about cultural recognition and sharing a moment with people of her culture. When she went and did Coachella, right? And we saw like that was like a huge deal because she was the very first woman to ever ever like headline Coachella, and she was a Black woman, right? And what did she do? She centered the entire performance and the entire thing around the Black bands from the South, right? So you have these like these college bands, and like the production and everything changes to what those things are, right? That's culturally relevant. Other people are like, I don't even get what the freak these things is. And while she's there, she's singing the Black national anthem, Lift Every Voice, right? So when all of these things you're doing are culturally relevant, and you're basically saying, well, why can't you just sacrifice your cultural relevance and just go ahead and pretend as if erase it by like submitting to the white gaze? That's what you lose. You lose that ability to have this cultural expression, and it seems like you're fine with that.
Okay, I want to
don't think
respond
this
to that,
is
but first I
Black
want to get
culture.
Smooth in, because I'll have a
I
response to
want
that.
to ask you a question too, Prime.
Okay, sure. Smooth first, please.
Okay, man, there's been a lot. There's been a lot said. But I that me? Is
We
that
have
me
another
giving
echo.
feedback? Or?
I don't know. It's getting quite
Okay,
annoying.
so my thing is, there has to be like, where is the line? What word is next? I feel like we just keep, every time we move down the road a little bit, there's another person going, oh my God, I'm offended, instead of going, well, all right, being mature enough in themselves to go, you did not mean that way. Okay, that's cool. My bad, man. I didn't know how you were using that word. Instead of being mature, instead everyone's like, oh my God, my feelings, I'm hurt. You hurt me. Your words, I heard it. My ears, I'm bleeding. Like, no, that's not what this is. You're fine. You're perfectly fine. Just woman or man up, or whatever you identify as, up, and literally listen to people and see where they're coming from. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to build a bridge of understanding instead of standing on your side and going, oh my God, you're such a terrible person because you said this thing.
Do you feel like that's what the conversation's been?
Instead of understanding the context in which the person used the word. I'm not going to get mad at someone over using a word in a totally different context that I didn't understand. If they explain it to me and I go, oh, okay, that's not bad. That's not that bad. That's what you meant. You didn't mean those other things. Okay, cool. Then that's fine. I let it go. But you can't be over here being mad about everything. And I feel like that's where we're going. Like, there's always going to be somebody whose feeling is hurt. And to the opposite side of the argument that you were saying that I was making, Bam, the argument that you're making is, all we need is one. All I need is one person's feelings to be hurt. And then I need to bend the knee and I need to change my vocabulary. That's fucking nuts.
I don't understand why we're creating this framing of like bending the knee. We're creating this frame like, oh, so Beyonce has to give up Black culture. When I don't think that's the ask. I think that the conversation was like, hey, from actually looking at the messages, it was people like, oh wow, Beyonce used this word. I think it's stupid personally, but yeah, I don't like this. Blah blah blah. Like, if she wants to use language like that, I don't think I would engage with.
You think
Beyonce.
it's stupid, but you give credence to the argument.
Yes, because those are two different things. The world doesn't revolve around what I think is good or bad. Like there's
The world
things
doesn't
that
revolve around them either.
But I'm saying that like me thinking stupid doesn't mean that like the Beyonce didn't make the correct move to say like, oh, okay, here's this word that she legitimately didn't care about, and said that like, oh, okay, yeah, I can change this one word of one song and without giving up all of Black culture.
I want to ask you the same question I was going to ask Prime. There's a lot of white people that say that the word nigga makes them uncomfortable. And there's also some Black people that say nobody should use the word nigga because they don't like it, like blah, blah, blah. If white leftists started a movement to say, hey, rapper XYZ shouldn't say nigga in his music because it's offensive, what would you say?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't use nigga in mixed company. I don't.
That's not
like
what
that.
I asked you though.
Oh, you're saying if someone said that they shouldn't use it in music, or no, wait a minute. We have to. That was a straw man. Let's be exact. They say that like if they're going to use this,
No,
in
that
music,
wasn't a straw man. That was
wait,
literally-
wait a minute.
That's-
Hold
It
on.
wasn't a straw man. He gave a hypothetical.
No.
Can you engage?
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
It was a hypothetical.
Okay, let's deal with the hypothetical. If that happens, which isn't relevant to this situation at all, I think that would be bad.
Very relevant.
Now let's
It's very relevant.
relevant.
Now
Now what's relevant to the actual
Is it-
situation?
hold on.
Hold on.
Let me tell you how they're relevant because maybe like you can't comprehend this. I don't know why. There are people who deal with spastic movements who don't have a problem with people using the word spaz. There's also a portion of them, probably a minority, that actually do have a problem. Similarly, with the word nigga, there's black people en masse don't care about regular use of black people using the word nigga. There's a minority of black people who actually are offended by it. So it maps one-to-one into the conversation.
I'm telling you where the straw man was. The conversation was never about Beyonce. Like the government should step in and prevent Beyonce from
We're
releasing
not talking
music.
about the government.
Wait a minute. Just wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. No,
Let him
wait a
respond.
minute.
Let him
Wait a
respond.
minute.
Go back.
I'm saying the conversation that was had was if Beyonce is going to do this, I'm not going to engage with her music, which I feel like is a completely different conversation. That if someone
Nobody said we weren't going to listen.
That's from the song, and she capitulated to it. What are you talking about?
I'm saying
Are
if
you
she
there?
wait, do you not think there's a meaningful difference between those two things? Saying that someone should force you to do this versus saying I'm not going to engage if this is what you do. I'm personally not going to listen. Do you not see? You don't see any meaningful difference?
This is
But-
painful.
That was the
But
conversation
see,
that was happening.
The problem
that's
that you
not
have
what-
with that answer is that they already could have fucking done that. If they had a problem with it, they could
They
have.
did. That's exactly what they were doing. And Beyonce
So then
decided she'd
why?
rather
So then
not.
why does she have to change?
She didn't have to.
The
She-
lyrics.
There was no legal obligation for her to do so.
The
She
whole
did so because she
conversation
chose
has been
to.
about
Talking
her.
about
It's been about her being
What are
forced
you
to change
doing?
the lyrics to
Again,
cope for
because
the
you're saying
leftist
she bent the knee for the leftist
She
lunatic when
did.
that's not what happened. That's what I'm saying.
She
That's not.
did. She bent the knee to
what
them
happened.
by changing the lyrics.
Why are we
She
entertaining
bent the knee to
this? Why
them.
are we entertaining this? Like,
what happened?
why
If it
are we
wasn't-
going to keep letting him like
True,
command the
true.
conversation, and he's truly not engaging, and he's
I'm
trying to pick apart
I'm
stuff
engaging as
for
directly as
attention.
possible. I couldn't be.
Can we do better?
legality and all type, the government, like
because you know this conversation doesn't make sense if you're having from an honest perspective.
What are you talking about?
I'm not
Who
entertaining.
made
You're the
Beyonce
only
change the
person
song?
disingenuous.
Who made her do it?
wait, hold on, wait.
She did it because she got pushback from the leftist lunatic.
Sure.
See,
Hold
okay.
on. I want to make sure I'm not crazy real quick. Does anyone think the hypothetical that I asked is in some way unfair?
Of course not.
Not directly related
He
to
just
the
doesn't want to
conversation?
engage.
I
Of course not.
engage with it directly. I literally said
No,
if
he's
someone was going to make them do that, that's bad. But that's not what's happening.
He didn't even ask if they were made.
That was
That's all he
exactly.
asked.
It wasn't
He said-
about.
he said
it wasn't about
you?
force.
Okay,
It wasn't about-
okay. Let's just rephrase it. Let's just
He's not
rephrase it.
really
Let's just rephrase it.
No, why do we need to rephrase it when he's not even actually? He never said the word "make." Why does he need to
did.
rephrase that?
Um,
What he said was if people started having a problem with that,
No, that's
then
not
would
what
that
he
be
said.
bad or good? That's literally what he said
That's not what he
verbatim.
said. No, he's not. That's
is.
where you cut me off.
Okay.
He said verbatim.
Someone clip it for me. Someone go back and clip
Yeah,
it for me.
someone go and clip.
And then when
Go
we
ahead and
do,
clip
then you
it.
can shut the hell up.
No, you.
I'll do it myself. I'll just mute you and I'll find it. Give me a
Please
second.
go do it. Please go do it. Because what he said was, if they came out and said that they shouldn't be allowed to make music with the N-word. If that was someone's position, how would you feel about it?
That's the same thing with these
It's
people
not
who
the
said
same
they
thing.
shouldn't be allowed to make music with the word spaz in it because it offends
It's the
people.
same thing. It's the
No,
same thing.
but then that's not what happened. No one said she shouldn't be allowed to do it.
What's the
in her
difference?
song, which is the same as saying you shouldn't have nigga in the song. It's the same exact thing.
What's the difference?
Yes.
Literally, we're
it's a
calling for her
word.
to take
How
the
we're
word
not
spaz out of the song.
Are y'all idiots? Do y'all not see the massive distinction? Meaning saying you're not allowed to do
No,
something.
there's no
and saying that I
distinction.
wouldn't engage with something that does this.
No, we're not talking
These are
about you
two
personally
massive.
engaged.
I'm not.
Look, you see,
We're only talking.
You're
Okay.
conflating. You're conflating the issue.
Look. Why don't I answer the question? Okay, that was you said that was supposed to be at me. Okay, so I'll try to answer. The question. Okay. And I'm gonna repeat the question to make sure we're on the same page, right? So it was that because there is a minority of individuals, of black people and some white individuals, who are uncomfortable with the word, with the N word. And if they started an online movement to, get rappers to take it down, right, to stop using this, then would I be supportive of that? I think it's a really good question. And I guess I would not be necessarily in support of that. Because I am for like the freedom, like artistic freedom there, right? I want people to have the ability to do so, to say pretty much what they want.
Here, Bam.
But on the
Play it
other
loud.
side,
Here, Bam. I just posted the clip in the dang thing. He didn't say anything about anybody making anything. He said specifically if white people felt
Oh
like
my
that.
God.
I'm sorry. So what he said was if white leftists started a movement saying that so X rapper shouldn't say whatever in his lyrics, what would you think? That's all he asked. And then you tried to not engage it.
I absolutely
God.
engaged with it verbatim.
No,
didn't.
no, you
Like,
can
let me
go
play it.
back.
You
Okay,
watch the
okay,
video.
okay.
Watch the video, and
I'm
then when you're wrong, then come back and say that you engaged with it.
All right. So, I just want to
I'm gonna let you finish.
try my best to finish answering this question. Okay. So I wouldn't be in favor of that, right? So looking through that lens and bringing it back to the original. What would I say is the difference? For one thing, I'm not like, as we've done for a few of our topics, I'm not like set on this, or I'm not dying on this one or the other, right? But at the same time, I think there is, when we're talking about Beyonce in particular, and Beyonce taking this particular action, I think it's fine if someone wants to be accommodating. That, yeah, some people are saying that she absolutely shouldn't do the shouldn't like bend the knee or whatever, right? But if she wants to be accommodating, then that's okay. I guess then I would give her the freedom to like say that word, and not get censored or anything like that. But I guess, yeah, I'll leave it at that. I think there's more I want to say on this, but I'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah.
John, you
I
want to
would
jump
say
in?
this.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
I think.
about something really
I
important.
think. Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead. Al.
Kyle?
I wanted to talk about something really important because where did we get this lie from that we have to build bridges, and as the lefty journos in the video game and like the TV community say that we have to reach a wider audience. When did that lie come out? Like, why can't we say that not everything is for everybody? Why can't we just say that, you know what, if you don't feel that spaz is a good word and you don't like Beyonce saying it, why don't you just say, okay, fine, I'm just not going to listen to that album? Or fine, I'll listen to the album, but I'll skip that song. Because, I mean, how long could that song possibly be in comparative to the whole album? Like,
That's
let's
the
be
debate.
honest.
So,
That's exactly what happened.
if
That's the point.
Iggy
Much
is
maturity.
Azalea, or I think Iggy
This is
Azalea is
ridiculous.
white, right? If a white artist like said the N word, and you would say to black people, well, like, don't worry about it, just don't listen to it.
No, I think you have to look at the difference in these two things, right? Because one is like you saying, I'm offended by something that I'm offended by something that like has an entirely different meaning to you, and I'm ignoring all the cultural relevance of what that word means to you, and like it being a locution. Whereas something like the N word is something that has always been offensive, and it had no usage outside of that offense. And so we all recognize the second that you use that word that you're trying to be offensive. Like that same thing doesn't apply to spaz here. So that's why those two things aren't the analogy doesn't work. Now, if someone was to say something like, again, like as Gamma brought up, or a different example, if someone said like maybe black people say wildin', right? You're wildin', okay? That's a common locution for us. That's the phrase that we use. Now, if say maybe, I don't know, some Aboriginal people had been discriminated against using the word wild, okay? Or a better example, something that we use on a regular basis, savage.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We use that word on a regular basis, but we don't necessarily mean a negative thing. In fact, we use it sometimes as a positive. Now, if Native American people decided to start saying, hey, well, that word has been used to denigrate my people, so I don't want you to use that word in that way.
It's like, okay, so now at this point, you're starting to just commandeer all of our language and prevent us from being able to use any of our slangs. I don't think that I should have to erase historical things that have had a specific meaning to me, specifically to accommodate you, unless, of course, you can say there has never been this positive association like you can with the N word or some of the other words that we brought up already.
I think there would be an example of, and I have to put some thought into it, but of a word that would be offensive to Black people that has other connotations, other places.
You won't find that because Black people don't get offended at random nonsense that has no actual relevance. We get offended because of things that are
I
actually
can think of it
being
as
used.
small.
That's
example.
the difference. That's the difference between us. We're not appropriating oppression. We just have the examples of the actual oppression that we've actually endured, so then we can say these things are offensive. White people don't have that, so they keep looking and glomming on to random things that are not offensive, so that they can actually feel like, hey, we're oppressed too. See. That's the
Damn.
difference.
I want to hear your
Shout
take
out
on
to
this.
Fanatic, man.
Okay, John,
All right,
Tash?
excellent. I don't know if y'all remember a rapper. I don't know if y'all know of a rap. I don't know if y'all remember this. It was like gosh, I was probably back in college when it was happening, like 5 years ago. This rapper named Nav, right? He's like this. I think he's Indian. He's from Canada. And during his early rap songs, he would say the N word a bunch, and like a lot of his fans are Black men, right? But on Twitter, a lot of Black women thought that it was inappropriate for the rapper Nav to say nigga in his songs. What are your thoughts on that? Like he's a part of a marginalized group where the word nigga has been used to denigrate that marginalized group. The term "sand nigga" is a real thing.
Sure,
Not to the same level. Not to the same level. Yeah, I'm just trying to see how y'all scaling it. I'm cool with Nav saying nigga. I'm cool with brown people, like Indian people saying nigga, because they get called sand N-word all the time.
Nah,
I don't care. I'm not. Nope, it's not the same thing, right? Like the second you start
not the
trying to
same
like,
thing.
it's not even close. Because the second you start trying to like associate these other people with like the type of offense that has been associated with the N-word, then you're literally erasing all of the historical context of how the N-word was specifically used to actually dehumanize us, right? Now you can say that people like use the word like "san in," right, and like they've used that to like offend other people, and that's true. But one, that wasn't so widely used as the N-word. There wasn't all of the cultural like oppression and systemic racism that was directly tied to it with the word N-word. It's literally dehumanizing. So these things are just not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Yes, other people have
Would you say it's like a scaled down version of it?
Like,
Here's the thing,
sure.
though.
If you want to say it's like incredibly scaled down, where the N-word was literally a term used to genuinely dehumanize. They were literally saying that we were not essentially human, right? Like that's that. And then the sand word was just like the sand in was just a way of like basically saying, hey, these guys are kind of like the Black people that were whatever. So the only way that they were offending them, they were insulting them, was by associating them with us.
Yeah, I was
Right.
gonna say
Yeah.
that.
No, it's not the
So-
same.
so-
Smooth, go ahead, and then I want to respond to Fanatic Greg before we run out of time with this topic.
Okay, cool. So also with also with this, right? You got to look at those marginalized groups and you have to ask yourself this question. Who helped us? Okay? Did those marginalized groups come to our aid? No, most of them minded their own fucking business, okay? Most of them did, and a lot of them discriminated back against us and called us the N-word with the hard R. They wanted
Bro,
to
how is
say-
Helen Keller supposed
So
to help
listen,
us out of slavery?
So listen, a lot of them, they tried. No, I'm
What?
not talking about during slavery. I'm talking about during like Jim Crow era periods or whatever. They tried to separate themselves from us. They tried to say that, hey, we're not them. You see that in Asian communities and how they treat Black people. You see that in Mexican communities and how they treat Black people. You see that you can go through whatever marginalized group and how they treat Black people today. We don't even have to go back real far. Today, they don't want to be us. Only when it's cool.
Don't want to be us, right? They, the Asian
Wait,
community,
this is like a
right?
crabs in a bucket mentality.
They,
No,
man.
it's
Like,
not
they
crabs
the
in a
Latin
bucket mentality.
community.
I'm telling you,
Crabs.
they can't say the N-word because they would call us that too.
Oh, okay.
They
All
do
right,
it,
I
and they
don't.
do it in
they get
closed
called
doors.
sand N-word.
I'm like, I don't
No,
understand.
no,
Like
I-
one of my
White
best
people
friends is
calling them
Indian,
that.
and he's been called the sand N-word before. Like
Sure.
unironically.
But
But
that's
the
not-
degrading part of
Wait,
that
oh,
is the
listen.
association with Black people. That's the like. It's not insulting in and of itself. It's the what you're comparing it to. You're comparing them.
Yeah.
You're like the Blacks.
Yeah.
So okay,
They tried to prove so hard that they weren't.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
it's
go ahead.
still a, it's
Sorry.
I
still a-
disagree with
it's still a
Smooth, though.
I like,
But
alternative
I also
yeah, I
disagree
mean,
with that.
Smooth is like literally essentializing the entire these entire communities, right? But like,
Smooth is on his
moving on.
No,
NBA
he's
court.
generalizing.
So-
There's a difference between generalizing and
Yeah,
essentializing.
Excuse me,
generalize.
generalizing. Fine. Fanatic. Do
Historically
you think
accurate, though.
blackface has a has some sort of use outside of being offensive?
Sure, I do.
Okay, what is it?
I think blackface is one of those things where again we're like associating it with some real great harm, right? We all know that blackface was used like on that film Birth of a Nation, in which they literally created and galvanized the KKK, and they literally used that to stoke fears about black men raping white women, which is why the legislation was only one-sided. It was only rape. If a black man was raping a white woman legally within our system, it was not illegal to rape a white woman. I mean, to rape a black woman. So if there was a black woman who was raped, they would literally throw the case out. There were cases that were thrown out because they didn't specifically mention the race of the woman that was raped, and it was only illegal to rape a to rape a white woman. That's what that created, and then that literally galvanized the KKK and black people. That helped strengthen the segregationist cause. Like all of these things, we can trace real harm to this. So that's why black people respond the way they do to blackface, and of course all of the historic minstrel shows that were used to completely create this idea of like what black people were and so on and so forth. That's why we respond the way that we do to blackface. But do I believe that like those things are relevant today? I would say probably not. I would think there's a lot of people that would like that there could be reasons to use blackface that wouldn't be essentially tied to that thing. But I can understand people being sensitive to it because it reminds them of that time. So I think there's an argument for both. There's an argument why people would still be offended by it, and I think there's also an argument that the people today don't actually have those sentiments, and so then it should be fine for them to use it.
Okay, so that's interesting that you would take that stance. Whether and I forget which one he's fucking like I let's pretend it's the Netherlands. Where they have the Christmas tradition, was it Black Tom, I think it is, or something like that. Where there's Santa Claus and then there's that creature. I forget like if it's supposed to be a black person or what it is, but like it's a thing that assists Santa Claus, and it has the white person puts on blackface, right? To play that character, and then little kids will go on and they put blackface for this character. I think it's called Black Tom. But in any case, like for that, right? Like, should African people of African descent who live in, I think it's the Netherlands, but I could be wrong about that. Who live there, should they be offended, and should there be allowances for them?
I would say they can be offended by it, but I would say that you don't have a right to go to another place and dictate their or mandate that their customs fall underneath your sensibilities, right? So if I'm in another place where they have their own practices and things that make sense to them, I can't go to them and be like, you guys shouldn't do that. It would be just as ridiculous as an Indian person coming to our country, like a Hindu person or someone that like worships the cow and then says to us, you guys need to stop using these cows. You guys need to stop eating these cows. Every time I see you guys have these cows in this way and eating beef, it offends me. And it's like, well, look, that's your personal custom. We live our own life and we don't have to all like capitulate to your customs and your understandings. It's a different thing when you're in a general area where people are doing things like for example, a melting pot like the United States, where you have to be tolerant of other people's cultures. But if I go to like India, I mean, you got the point. So I would say black people going to that region where that thing was not meant in that way, where blackface hasn't been used in that way, but saying I'm personally offended because of this association, you got to recognize that like that's not your region. You don't have a right to
One
that.
final
And
thing,
vice versa.
One final thing, because of the thing you just said at the end, in America, where you have to be tolerant of this cultures because it's a melting pot. Would that not include making allowances for a culture? And the disabled community does have their own culture, in which something like that, the word spaz, is offensive.
Yeah, you can be tolerant of other people's culture, but I would say that that goes both ways. So you can tolerate and you can understand their offense. And if you do, like Beyonce did, then you can decide, hey, I'm not going to go ahead. Then I'll go ahead and remove the song from the thing. You can choose to do that. I think the problem comes when you start saying that a person should do that or a person must do that, because I think the tolerance and understanding goes both ways. So that you can be tolerant that this is offensive to them, but they can be tolerant and say that this isn't something that's meant to offend me. This isn't something that's like meant in a disparaging way, right? For example, black people say stupid all the time, but guess what? Stupid, while it can be a pejorative, can also be a very positive. Like, man, this nigga's stupid on them keys. I hear that all the time because I'm a ridiculous pianist. When a person says I'm stupid on them keys, it's not that they're trying to say I'm unintelligent. It's not meant to be offensive or disparaging. So I can recognize this person doesn't mean this in an offensive way and take it as such. But if I choose to sit there and say, no, it's always meant to be a bad thing, it's always meant to be whatever, and I'm ignoring the context of how they're intending to use it, then that means that I'm being the intolerant one here. I'm being the one that's trying to force someone to capitulate, and that's always a bad thing.
Okay,
I was about to say Atlanta dealt with this. Oh, sorry.
I
was just
very quickly because we got to move
very
on.
quick. Yeah, there's an episode of Atlanta for everything. What you just described, the blackface, it's in
Black Pete,
Amsterdam.
apparently. I was
Yeah,
wrong, not
it's
Black Tom.
yeah, Zwart Pete. Yeah, Black Pete. Which Paperboy ended up like he went out to a show perform. Like he got paid a lot of money, and then he realized it was a performance for Black Pete, and he decided like, nah, I'm out. I ain't doing this. And then he walked off stage. So everybody watch Atlanta. It's everything.
Atlanta's great. Yeah,
Atlanta.
I haven't seen that episode, but that sounds
Season 3, episode 2.
I have not finished season 3.
I never watched
need to
Atlanta,
get
but
to
it makes sense that they would make an episode like that. I mean, I learned these things on my own because I read a lot and I'm actually well educated, and that's why my arguments are so good. But yeah, I could see Atlanta doing something like that. It's a good way of like kind of detailing it for white folks.
Oh boy. Okay. So we're gonna continue on. Thanks all for this. Hey, I had to mute you once again, Isle. You gotta. I like having you on, but you have to get headphones on, right? You gotta do headphones. Like this is a problem.
You mean Pace, not Al?
No, Isle. Like you keep interrupting the broadcast with like the echoes on your end. You got to get headphones. I'm sorry, it has to happen. Put them on, or it's
No,
I
no,
can't
he
have
doesn't.
it here.
He doesn't,
No.
Prime. Go to settings, voice and video, turn on noise suppression and echo cancellation.
That's
and noise
already
reduction.
done. That's already done.
He didn't do all three of them because then he wouldn't hear the echo. I'm serious.
Look,
if you do all three of those, it's not good. There's three things: noise reduction.
Okay.
No, not for you. For him, he has to
sorry,
do it.
excuse me.
It's
Sorry.
his microphone doing it. So go into voice, go into settings, go to voice and video. At the very top, you'll see something that says, like near the top, you'll see a setting that says noise suppression under advanced. You turn that on. Then also under video voice processing, you turn on echo cancellation and noise reduction, and then you won't have this problem anymore. Do all three of those, and the problem is solved.